Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to our info session on the online Masters of Education in Mathematics Education at UBC. And my name is Cynthia Nicol, and I'm a professor in the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy at UBC in the Faculty of Education. And I also hold the David Robitaille Professorship in Mathematics and Science Education. And I'm also the coordinator of this program, the Masters of Education in Math Education. So who do we have? I can't see who you are, where you're coming from. So you might, if you have a couple minutes and you're kind of ready and settled, you might just say hello in the chat and just let us know where you're coming in from. And in the meantime, I'll just start with a land acknowledgement. Right now, I'm coming to you from the traditional unceded territories of the Hunkaminam speaking people, right here in this image, where the Stolo River, also known as the Fraser River, splits into the North Arm and the South Arm before going into the Salish Sea or the Pacific Ocean. And to acknowledge land and Indigenous peoples is to really deeply understand this history as well as look to the future in terms of equity and inclusion. And there can be no reconciliation without respect and recognition. I also want to acknowledge that the program is offered through the University of British Columbia, which is situated on the traditional unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam people. So again, please feel free to introduce yourself and the lands you're on if you like, and you can do that in the chat. And then just a thank you to each of you for joining us and being interested in our program and listening to some of the questions and ideas that are being offered. It's an exciting program. It says we're now recruiting or inviting applications for our third iteration of this cohort. The theme is teaching and learning mathematics with and in community. And I just want to thank you for, I guess that just having that desire to think about mathematics in community and to be a part of an exciting cohort like this. So the agenda, as Kelvin suggested, is in two parts. One part, I'll talk about the content and the design of the program itself as a coordinator of it. And then Kelvin, as the program assistant with the Office of Professional Development and Community Engagement. Actually, that's not the right title, is it, Kelvin? Sorry. It's a different title now, isn't it? Oh, you're muted. So you'll correct us?
Yes, no, it is PDCE, which stands for Professional Development and Community Engagement.
Oh, it's the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought we changed it. All right, thank you. And then we'll have some time for questions. And also around 5:15, I've invited some current and former students from the cohort to join us, and they can talk a little bit about their experiences, and you'll be able to ask them questions directly. So let's just first of all start off with thinking a bit more about the program and what its highlights are. You can see here that it's totally online, that it's designed for people who are professionals, and you could be working full-time and also take the program. The theme is teaching and learning math with and in community, and a specific degree in mathematics or science is not needed for this program. What is needed is that you do have some teaching experience or experience as an educator, and we can talk more about what that looks like and what it might, what that kind of counts as. So on this slide, I'm just sort of talking a little bit more about, I just moved some things around here, sorry. Why you would want to study at UBC and what UBC can offer. So UBC's got a long history of programs in graduate and doctoral programs, and we have teachers and around the world who are now district leaders or academics who are graduates and now working in BC, Canada, and internationally. And we've designed this particular program to meet the needs of people who are living in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, situated around UBC campus, but also for people in the province or across Canada and internationally. So if you'd like to continue working and teaching in your own community and complete a graduate degree, then this program is for you. So you can kind of stay where you are and be a graduate of UBC. And I wish something like this existed when I was teaching in BC's Pacific Northwest. So for me to continue and pursue a master's degree, I actually had to leave the community. But with this program, you can continue to work and live and be a grad student and be a part of a very vibrant grad cohort without physically leaving home. And that said, maybe you'll hear more about the students who will be sharing their experiences with you. It's an amazing opportunity with a cohort like this because you get to know people really well from across the province and Canada. And many of the students have met up with each other over the years, which is a real highlight. The program's designed to meet your needs and to kind of ground. All of the courses are grounded in current issues and questions related to teaching, but also related to mathematics education, and specifically thinking about our own community context and how mathematics and mathematics education can help us learn more about what's happening in our communities so we can contribute to making a change. Sorry, let me get to the next slide. The program is grounded in a number of different principles, and these are interrelatedness, relationships, respect, and reciprocity. And the interrelatedness just emphasizes with a cohort model, we're able to design the courses so that we can thread the theme through all of the courses and have you think about what are the theories that you might be reading about and how you can apply those even into your classroom. So there's a real nice dialogue between what you're doing in your classroom or whatever kind of educational context you're working in and what you're learning in the program. So it's really about bringing that teaching and researching together because, you know, as educators, we are researchers at the same time. We're trying to figure out what would we do differently next time if we were to offer that lesson again. So interrelatedness is a big principle that guides the decisions made in the program. Another one is relationships. So this idea of learning together and sharing expertise and experiences and trying to do that across our courses where we really make what we're learning a contribution to the community so that we learn from each other. So we're not just individually kind of working on our own stuff, but we're also being able to offer what we're learning to each other so that we can benefit collectively. And we do this with people across the province as well as, you know, across Canada and internationally for those who are maybe attending internationally. And another principle is respect. So thinking about this critical engagement of trying to think about how to improve mathematics education for all students and to try to explore and reimagine possibilities that are grounded in our own research and our experiences as teachers. And then finally, this idea of reciprocity. So bringing what you're doing and your work in the program to be outside the classroom and the school, to connect it with the community, to involve families, and to try to think about this mathematical engagement and reimagining those experiences and getting students really excited about teaching and learning math. And then just finally, one more idea is what the course that I'm teaching right now in the cohort is really focused around trying to think about how can we use mathematics to understand the world, and how can we use mathematics to try to change it, to try to make it a better place. And it's that kind of idea of thinking about mathematics that goes through most of the courses that we're offering in this particular cohort. So these next couple of slides just kind of give a bit of context in terms of how the kinds of areas that we're studying and thinking about mathematics education. So again, mentioning about how we can use it to understand and change the world, looking at various contexts to inspire mathematical curiosity. So we're offering like virtual math fairs, or thinking about how can we take math into the community, into a mall, into a teaching and learning garden, looking at, other ways that we can bring math to families. And then trying to think about various theories about problem solving and problem posing across different diverse contexts. A big part of it is thinking about issues within community and how mathematics can play a role in trying to frame those issues, social and ecological issues, how we can use mathematics outside the classroom. So rather than thinking about the classroom as these four walls and like a container, where else can mathematics be experienced and taught and learned, like education outdoors, mathematics education outdoors, on the land, in community, in place. And here is a list of all the places that we explore thinking about teaching and learning math. So I've talked about a few of these. Included in this are looking at mathematics, teaching mathematics through the arts and through the body and performance, through dance and poetry, thinking about math outside and place and land with families, and then issues that are important to communities like climate justice. Okay, so just a little bit about, so that's the theme. And now just a little bit about the structure of the cohort. There are 10 courses altogether that are spread out over 7 terms. And I know Kelvin will talk a little bit more about the payment and the structure related to all of this, but right now I'm just giving you a framework for how this is organized. All the courses are offered online, and it's all asynchronous, but we go together through each of the courses because we work as a cohort through them, through 7 terms. And we can do this with in different ways. You can do 9 courses plus a capstone project, which equals 10, or you can do 7 courses, all offered online, plus 2 electives. And you can choose those to be face-to-face. You could come to UBC and study, or you could try to find some courses online. So you can have 2 electives, and then you have the capstone. If you want to do a final project, or if you choose not to do a final project, you can, and you can take it instead an equivalent elective. So either way, 10 courses is what this the mathematics adds up to. So here is just a schedule where the program starts in September. The next cohort will start in September of next year, 2024, and go to December of 2026. Some students actually end a little bit early. They might finish up some of their electives a little bit early and end in August of 2026. That's fine to do as well. But you can see here in the first year, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 courses that are offered online through the program that everybody takes together as a cohort. And then you can choose to take 2 electives. You can take them anytime in the program, but you can take them one in the first year, or you could take both of them in the first year. And then depending on the interests of the cohort and what people would like to study, if there are opportunities for us to create a course for the group, for our group, focused on a particular topic. So for example, many students in the cohort this year were interested in learning more about mathematics in place. And so I was able to get a course together just around that. And not everybody took it, but enough students took it that made it a viable course to offer. So that's the first year. The second year, there are 3 courses that are offered online that, again, we take together as a cohort, offered in each of the terms. And then you can take another elective in the summer, or again, if you want your summers to be free, you could take that other elective at another time. So that's the second year. In this year, we have, again, I should say that all of the courses offered are exactly the same as what would be offered if you were to take this degree face-to-face on campus. So the courses that are required are for all students taking courses in the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy for a master's degree. They're required to take Education 562. EDCP 562 and EDCP 550. Both of those are required. And sorry, that's not true. 500, Education 500. So EDCP 562 and EDUC 500 are required for all students, Masters of Education students in our department. And then these 4 mathematics focused ones, mathematics education in community, teaching children mathematics, mathematics education, social justice, and mathematics embodied learning through the arts are 4 courses focused in mathematics, and those are all required as well. And then we have this course on teacher research, where this is helping you learn how to research within your own context, whether it be a classroom or some other context that you're working in. And all of this can work towards helping you create your own capstone project if you'd like to do that. And we'll have some of the students talk about that who will be joining us. So you can see, you don't need to make that decision now, obviously, but it's an option for you. And you can work on the capstone project in the last term, and we give lots of support for that. We work together again as a team working through that. Okay, so that's the structure of the 2 years plus 1 term. Now let me see what is next. Okay, this is my last slide, and then Calvin, I'll pass it to you. But this is where you can go to get electives. So again, I mentioned if there are enough students who are interested in a particular course, we might be able to offer one for you. Otherwise, you can take electives that are part of your tuition offered through UBC through these 2 different agreements. One is through the Western Dean's Agreement, and the other is through this, I don't know how to, GREX, where you don't need to pay tuition. If you find a course online that you would like to take, you need to request permission to do that. And if it's approved, then you can just take the course through any of the universities that are part of this Western Dean's Agreement, and it will become a part of this program, and it will count towards that. You can also take courses as part of UBC Okanagan, which is a version of a campus of UBC. Okay. All right, that's all I have for, oh, no, I think we're going to do questions next, right? For this part, and then I pass it to you, right? Okay, sorry. So if you have any questions, I think there are some in the chat. Thank you, people, for those of you who are able to introduce yourselves to everybody who's in the chat. But maybe we'll take a couple questions now that are related to the structure of the program and its content. And then Calvin will talk a bit more about how to apply, and then we'll have some more questions, and then we'll have the student sharing. Okay. Can we take, oh, sorry, maybe, Calvin, do you want to start where the questions are?
Sure, I can start. So
yeah.
Steve asked firstly, how many students are accepted into each cohort, and how do pass-fail courses from a BEd program affect GPA when applying?
Okay, so those are the application stuff. Calvin, you'll answer that when it's your part with that. Yes. But in the cohort, we need at least 20-something students to make the program viable, to be able to offer it. This year we have 27 students who are in the cohort. And we get, I can't remember how many applications we got. We got a number of applications. So not everybody who applies is accepted, but we will talk about the application process, and I will help you make your application as strong as possible to help you be admitted into the program. What else?
Okay, the next question would be, maybe this one you can answer. Does a math or science degree give you an advantage when applying? Because I believe you read some of the applications, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you don't need a math or science degree to apply to the program. And so it doesn't, we're looking for, you need to have some, because this is a degree in mathematics education, so you need some experience educating. So that's an important part of it, and related to mathematics. So like if you had experience teaching English, but no experience working in math, then that wouldn't be yeah, we would need to strengthen your program maybe by having you take some courses in math education on campus first or online in some way so that you have some experience in that, because this is a master's program. So, but if you are an elementary teacher, for example, many elementary teachers don't have a degree in mathematics or science, yet are really interested and keen to learn more about how they can reimagine their own practice as a mathematics teacher for, you know, kindergarten up to intermediates. And right now in our cohort, we have probably about half the people in the cohort are elementary. About almost half are at the secondary level, and we have some people at the post-secondary level. So a nice range, and it gives that diversity is beautiful to have, to be able to learn from each other for both groups, you know, secondary and primary. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just focus on questions related to the structure of the program, and then other questions related to the application process we can answer after.
Okay. We have a question regarding whether electives can be taken UBC or transfer credits. Okay. This one I have answered in chat already. Next one is, if you decide to take an elective instead of the capstone project, is EDCP 590 optional then?
EDCP 590, which is the capstone project, is optional, but you would need to take another 500 level course. That's why I said equivalent elective in place of that. So it is optional, yes.
Okay. Next question is,
sorry, I just haven't had one thing, but it's a good experience to take it. Not everybody takes it up. I think in the first cohort, we had almost half the students did a capstone project, and half, because of their schedules, took coursework. So some students really like the idea and the opportunity to try to take everything they've learned and put it together in a project. And the project can look very different. Some people did a website, some people wrote an article for a journal, others did an essay or a literature review. So it's a project that's of interest to you. So, but it is optional, yes.
Okay. Next question is, can we take a break mid-degree and rejoin in the next year's cohort? I don't have any experience with this one. Do you have any experience with it?
Yeah. That happens sometimes. Things happen in people's lives that require them to take a break. And we've been able to manage it by we have a thing called the EDCP 580, which is a, what's that called? Independent project. And so if you miss one of these courses, because you can see that they're offered at certain times in the program. So if you miss it, it's over, right? So I have in the past worked with students to take the course as an independent project themselves, and so that they get the credit for it. So we have been able to work on that in special situations. And students have taken leaves and joined again in another term. So they've taken a leave for one term and maybe come back, and have taken maybe even some have taken no breaks and actually continued past the December 7th term, and they continued on taking courses. So with this program, you can take as many courses as you like, and the fee is still the same. So we've had some students who just love taking courses and they've taken many different types of courses that continue past that 7th term. I think you might still need to pay some small student fee once it goes past that 7th term, but you're still able to take courses. Yeah, I think that answers that question.
Next question is, what time would the courses usually start at? I believe you mentioned that these are asynchronous courses, right?
Yeah, so they start in the term, like they'll start in September, or they start in January, or there's a course that's offered in the spring. And they usually go about 10 weeks or so, 10 to 11 weeks. Some are a little bit shorter and a little bit more concentrated. So it's a little bit more work. The ones in the spring and summer are a little bit more concentrated. And they go for like 10, as I said, 10 or 11 weeks. Each week is a module, which requires some reading and some activities. And we move through the weeks together as a group. So everybody's kind of working at their own pace, but we're moving together as a group through each week. And usually each instructor will offer some optional Zoom synchronous meetings so that you get to know the other people in the cohort in a face-to-face discussion. And that again depends on your time zone. Not everybody can make those meetings, but in my classes, they're recorded and I put them up in our Canvas platform so that you have access to it if you're not able to attend. But I can see Christina's here, who is a student in our first cohort. So after, she'll be able to share a little bit more about the value of those Zoom meetings or not, and be able to tell you a little bit more about that. Okay, so are there any more questions for the program?
There are a lot of questions.
For
one
the
of
program?
them is, does the content focus on elementary education? I teach middle and high school.
No, it focuses on K to 12. As mentioned, we have elementary teachers. Well, in the cohorts we currently have, we have elementary and secondary, and we try to make the activities and the assignments open enough that you can respond to the activities related to your own context. So those at the middle and high school will respond to it using the content at middle and high school, and those at the elementary will do it at that level. I don't know, maybe Christina, maybe you want to jump in. Like, what did you are teaching at the middle school level? What did you find with the content? Did you find it was geared to one or more the other, or what?
I think that you have so much autonomy in terms of what you decide to research on and what area you want to focus on, that you can really target to your age group that you are working with. But I felt it was actually really valuable to learn from the elementary school teachers and from the high school teachers, because it gives you an understanding of A, where the kids are coming from, and also B, where they need to go. So it's actually kind of nice sometimes to be able to expand outside of your comfort area to just challenge yourself. But yeah, like we had kindergarten teachers in our cohort to, I think, post-secondary or adult learning teachers, and we were able to work collaboratively on different projects together. So it is very open-ended.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, so the program does focus K to 12, but we also have in both the cohort that Christina's a part of and the current cohort, we have people who are teaching at the university level as well. So it's for everybody interested in math education with the theme of teaching and learning in community.
Hey, next question people are asking is, how many hours a week approximately is the time commitment? Because a lot of people are teaching full-time, and they were also wondering how have previous students managed while teaching full-time concurrently.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that's from Nita. You're also asking about, do the classes run through the whole year? They run by terms. And there was that slide that I showed that for each year, there's like 3 terms, a fall term, a winter term, and then a spring term. And then in terms of approximately hours, I think it's like around 8 to 10 hours a week for each of the modules. But Christina, maybe you want to jump in and say how much time it took you. It's different for different people and what your job, load is like and stuff. So what was it for you?
Yes, it really is dependent on your personality and how much time you want to devote into it. So our cohort, we love spending a lot of time on discussion boards. So I found that for myself particularly, a lot of the time was spent in terms of reading other people's responses. It may not be the same for every cohort. We were just a very chatty, a very talkative cohort. However, you have a lot of autonomy because you get to choose the outcome of your product quite often. And so if you want to devote more time into it, you can. If you are the type of person to be a type A personality and to be very detailed, you can spend easily over the 10 hours, but you can also scale back. And my recommendation, I say this to my students, but I also recommend this for anyone going to this program, is to read the rubrics. Read the rubrics, really understand what the professors are asking of you, because it is so easy to go over that time commitment. You do want to make sure that what you are doing is on track and meeting the expectations of the task.
Yeah, good response. Would you say like around an average, was like around 8 or 10 hours per week, like on top of, because you're teaching full time, right?
Yeah. So I was teaching full time. But what I found was when I was able to do the projects that I could apply into class, it kind of linked into my prep work. So a lot of the activities I planned, I wanted to execute and trial in my classroom. So it actually, I used a lot of my in-class prep time to do both my homework and also my work. So if you can kind of marry the two together, you will find that it's not necessarily separate from what you do, but it's actually integrated into a lot of what you're going to be doing anyways as a teacher.
Yeah, nice. Good. Thank you.
And one other relevant question is, are there any restrictions on what electives are allowed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the electives need to be approved. So when you find a course that you would like to take, you just need to write like a little rationale for why you would like to take this course for this degree with this program theme. And you can always write something that will tie into thinking about community or thinking about math, that it would help you in some way. So it's unlikely that it would not be, well, it's likely that it would be approved if that rationale is strong enough to be helping us in thinking about the theme of the cohort. So you can take 300 and 400 level courses. You can take up to 300 or 400 level courses as an elective. But if you chose not to do the capstone project, then you need to find a 500 level course that you can take. And as I mentioned, if there are enough students in the cohort who really have a particular interest, like the cohort. Oh, and actually last year in your cohort, Christina, I know that there are some people who did an assessment course. So we did an independent project as an assessment course because they were interested in math and assessment. That was a 500 level course. So if you choose not to do the capstone, you need to find a 500 level course. And there are some options for that we can certainly brainstorm. Okay, is that good for those for now?
I do believe
questions?
so. We're now going to move on to the admissions related info. But if you have any additional questions, feel free to type it in chat, and I'm sure Cynthia or one of the current students will be able to provide some additional context. Let me just share my so regarding admissions and application info, this part is handled by the PDCE office, standing for Professional Development and Community Engagement. So application requirements. All students must meet the admission and application requirements for both the Faculty of Graduate Studies and this program specifically. This includes number one, a 4-year undergraduate degree with sufficient standing. You're looking at an average an average within the B plus range. That's roughly 76% at UBC on all senior level coursework or equivalent. This is usually 300 and 400 level courses. Please note that this is not a hard cut-off point in the sense that if your GPA does not meet the above criteria, let's say your few percentile off, the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy, so EDCP, may submit a special case rationale for you to recommend you for admission regardless if the rest of your application is considered to be strong enough. You're also going to need a brief statement of intent. This is maximum of 600 words, and it should outline, your reasons and goals for enrolling into the program. And if for some reason you're one of those applicants whom would require a special case rationale, this is where you're going to make your case as to why, despite being a little bit off the admission requirements, you are still a good candidate. You're also required to include a resume or CV. Please note that this is a resume for a graduate program and not a job, in the sense that there is no need for you to be concise. You're expected to provide as much details as possible within your resume, because this is the opportunity to completely showcase what you have achieved and what you're capable of. Additionally, you will require scanned copies of all official transcripts and degree certificates when you're applying. Please note that preferences will be given to those with 1 or 2 years of teaching experience or equivalent, or at least those have demonstrated professional experience in the area of study. You're going to be asked to provide 3 letters of recommendation. So these are, reference letters. Your referees can be admins, professors, and all other professionals. Basically, people who can speak to your engagement in the field or your ability and potential to complete the program. And there is no preference as to the role and position of the individual who is giving you your reference, as long as they're able to, speak to your ability to complete the program. There's no tier list on, what kind of references we prefer. In that sense, as to how these reference letters are submitted, within the online application portal, applicants are asked to provide an email address for each referee. And the referees are going to receive a unique link that will be emailed to them directly. And then they are going to be able to log on to a secure site and submit an online reference or upload a document. Please note that they are not allowed to send the references to us directly via email. So if they send it to the PDCE or the grad school inbox via Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail, or any of that, it will not count, unfortunately. In the case where, for some reason, you want to access the reference letters, unfortunately, due to UBC's confidentiality policies, we cannot actually show you what your reference letters are. If you want to look at your reference letters, you're going to have to approach your referees directly and ask them to send it to you. Additionally, there is an English language assessment part, if applicable. So if you're applying from a university outside of Canada where English is not the primary language of instruction, you are expected to provide an English language proficiency test result. These tests must be taken within the last 24 months at the time of submission of your application. So this is not something that you can submit retroactively after you apply. At the moment of applying, you have to have achieved and done the test already. As to which test exactly does UBC accept and what scores you're expected to get, you can just Google UBC grad school English language test, and it will be the first result that you can find. So regarding the actual application procedure, you can apply online at grad.ubc.ca/apply/online. You'd be asked to either log into your CWL or create a CWL if you do not have one. For those of you who are not UBC students, your CWL is basically your student account for anything UBC related. Once you're logged in, please make sure that you're applying for the right program. This is MAE3. This is what you should be typing in the program keyword. After selecting a program, you're going to reach experiences and interest page, and just make sure you're, again, choosing the appropriate program. And when you have entered everything, you must click declare and submit. Afterwards, you'll automatically receive an email acknowledgement with instructions on documentation and various deadlines. So, again, additional info on references. When adding your references to your application, you're going to be asked whether they are professional or academic references. Academic references would be, for example, former professors and instructors, but professional references would be principals, vice principals, or someone who have supervised you. A common question that came up is, let's say I last completed any sort of education maybe 6 or even 10 years ago. What do I do now? I'm unable to contact my former professors and instructors. That is okay. If you are unable to find any academic referees that are able to give a relevant reference to you. So, if it's, a long time ago, UBC grad school does recognize that in the span of 6 to 10 years, applicants or students are not the same person as they were back then. And in those instances, no academic references is okay. Yeah, so if your referees are intent on sending us a physical reference letter and not an online one, there are very specific requirements to it. It has to be in a sealed envelope, and on the seal, they're going to have to provide their signature on it. This is to prevent forgery and all that stuff. And so yes, all supporting documents that are expected to be uploaded include transcripts from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended with the exception of UBC. When we mean by all post-secondary institutions, that means any institutions where you have even just one transfer credit course or any exchange programs that you have done. We require transcripts from every institution. Your degree certificates, if applicable, your English language assessment report or your English test results, basically, if applicable, your statement of intent, and your resume. Oh, and adding on to the reference requirement, if your referees are going to be sending us an actual letter, please ask them to include the cohort code when submitting the reference. Again, this is MAE3. And finally, this is the most important thing of all. Once you are actually admitted into the program, you will have to provide official sealed transcripts, with the exception of UBC, to the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. What we mean by official sealed transcripts is that it has to be sent directly from your university to us, either electronically or in official sealed envelopes. You are not allowed to send it to us via your personal email. We cannot accept transcripts that you've received in person and then scanned and sent to us. And if you have a physical copy on hand that you have already opened, you can't re-envelope that and send it to us either, unfortunately. Application deadlines. Applications are currently open. We're accepting applications. The deadline is March 25th, 2024. This includes the submission of all supporting documents by that point. Regarding the tuition, there is a difference between domestic and international students as listed in the slide right here. The tuition is payable over a minimum of 7 installments. So this is one of each of the 7 terms of your program. The due dates are at the beginning of each term. So these would be January, May, and September, the tuition is charged as a whole program and is not assessed on a per credit basis. Please note that tuition may raise up to 2% annually, but if that is happening, it will be announced in the spring of each year. Please note that since this is considered a part-time program, it is not eligible for student loans or other types of funding. However, if you're able to secure third-party sponsorship yourself, that is completely fine. Regarding student fees, they are charged in addition to tuition and vary from term to term. You'll be budgeting for approximately $800 to $900 per winter term. However, there is a way to bring this cost down. You can choose to opt out of the medical dental plan, and that would be approximately $338 per year, charging September only. And there's this thing called the U Pass. It is a public transit pass for those of you who do not reside. No. Sorry, I might have cut off there for a split second. Anyways, for U Pass, for those of you who do not reside within the Greater Vancouver area, is basically a transit bus and railway pass, approximately $180 per term. This is only available for opting out if you live outside of the Greater Vancouver area. If you are a local Vancouver student or resident, unfortunately, you are not allowed to opt out. Fees are subject to change annually, and only the information on UBC calendar is official. So anything on this slide is only an approximate number and is subject to change. So lastly, for those of you who are students in the Vancouver Lower Mainland that have taken UBC's teacher candidate students in their classrooms before, you might be eligible to claim tuition credits, basically. If this applies to you, please contact the TEO office at teacher.ed.ubc.ca. I'm just going to type that into the chat real quick for your reference. And yes, these are a separate, this is a separate office, and we do not handle tuition credits, basically. So now is questions and answers time for anything admin and application related. Let me just go through the chat real quick. And yes, all of these details are on the website. Regarding these.
Sorry. I was just going to say that the I think you've answered the questions that are in the chat. Here's one. I'm concerned about overtaxing my referees. Do I ask my references for a letter? Then separately, they will also need to complete the online reference form. I think it's one or the other, isn't it?
It's only one or the other. They can send us a physical, they can send the grad school a physical letter, or they can do it online. When you're doing it online, you can either type everything out on the online portal, or if they have pre-typed something, you can attach a PDF document as well. Okay. After applying, when would we expect to hear about acceptance? So, Cynthia, would you be able to provide some insight into that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once the deadline, I think it's March 25th, then all of the applicants are reviewed by 3 people. And that process takes a bit of time because we have many applicants. So once we review them all, it takes about a month or so. So I would say about the end of April, beginning part of May, we're able then to make recommendations for admission to the program, but that then needs to also be approved by GMPS, Graduate and Programs, GMPS, Postdoctoral Studies, sorry, the Faculty of Graduate Studies needs to approve it as well, and that takes another little bit of time. But so you should know we would be sending out invitations for acceptance by around the end of March, beginning of May, something in that kind of time period. So I just wanted to respond to age and experience questions, because how wonderful to have all of that, if you added up all the years of teaching experience in a cohort, it's going to be hundreds. And how amazing to be a part of a group that has this range of experience, where you have got fresh people coming in with new ideas who might have, 5 to 10 years of teaching experience, or even, I think the minimum you want to have is probably at least two years of experience. To people who have retired because or are teaching at a different level. So I mean, I think it's just an amazing opportunity. You will not feel like you're the only one in any of those groups, because there's usually a range of people at all ends of that. But maybe we can invite Charlie Ray, who is a member of our first cohort, and Tamara, who's in the cohort now, as well as Christina, who is in the first cohort. Maybe Charlie Ray, we could start with you, and you could ask. Oh, and Diane is here too. Great, as part of the cohort that's currently on. But maybe Charlie Ray, if you can remember the application process, was there anything there that stood out for you that you could just highlight briefly for people?
I hate to do this on the first question, but the application felt like so long ago for our cohort. Like it was early 2020, and that was a wild time after that. So I feel like my memory from there isn't that great. So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't think I can answer this one.
Okay, but that's good, because it wasn't so bad that it's been a nightmare hanging over you for all those years since you applied. So maybe
I remember it being pretty simple, but
okay, good.
Yeah.
So Christina, or no, sorry, Tamara and Diane, would you have anything to advise? I'm just gonna let my dog out there.
I don't have any advice as such, but one thing that I remember is that there was like a checklist online, so you could see what was outstanding and what needed to come in, and that was helpful in terms of, reminding my referees, please, I really want to do this program. Can you send my reference in? So that was helpful.
Yeah, I also found one of my referees only had a Gmail account, and that wasn't able to, it needed to be a non-internet based email account as well. So that was something that I had to go back to one of my referees and ask her to use a different email. She was a retired principal, so she no longer had her school district email account. And so she was using a Gmail account, and she just had to go and figure out a way to do that to help me out, which I appreciated that she did. But that's something to be aware of, is if you are asking a retired principal or somebody who no longer has like a district email account or an institution email account, that is, they can't fill out the online reference form, so they'll have to send in a letter.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't know that had happened, so that's helpful to know that it that there's a solution to it in some way they can work on. Okay, good. What other questions? Or maybe Charlie Ray, you could share a little bit about your experience with the capstone project and the choice of that.
Sure. So I am located in Quesnel, which is like halfway up British Columbia, and it's quite rural. And a lot of my decisions throughout the program were based on the fact that I was so far away from campus. So even before I did capstone, I did I can't remember what it was called, like a 580, like a self-directed course, because at the time I found it was really hard to find electives that were online. So at the time we had 10 courses that we had to take, but 8 of them were mandatory and 2 were electives. And then, well, yeah. So finding electives that I could actually do online was really tricky. So I actually started some of my capstone in my independent study earlier on in the year. And part of that reason was really just I had an interest. My interest was in learning disabilities and math. And there just wasn't the options available online for me to study that. So that kind of started it, which was great. And for my capstone project, I did a research project. I did a survey of teachers across BC and wrote a whole article about it. I found, sorry, 1 second. I found that it was it was hard to be that like self-directed compared to in a course when you have like week by week, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's a lot more challenging to just know you have like a final thing at the end. Although the mentors were really helpful at giving you kind of steps of like the next thing you need to do and when do you want to do that by and making kind of those goals. But that was definitely kind of the most challenging part was like, oh no, not having that deadline that you have to follow and everybody counting on you and waiting for that the same way that a course did. But it allowed a lot more freedom and it really allowed me to like focus in on an area that I was really interested on. And I just don't think that would have happened in a course.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good little highlight there. And yours, because you finished yours at the end of December, right?
Yeah.
Charlie Ray? Yeah. And Christina, you finished your capstone at the end of August. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think because of COVID, we had more options to take courses online. So I actually started the program a little bit earlier. I started in the summer of 2020, so that I had my one elective done before the official start date of September 2020. So yeah, I have to say 3 years ago, I was in your position. I was petrified about doing my master's program. It had been about 10 years since I had set foot in a university classroom. And personally, I did not have a lot of good experiences in university. So I felt really apprehensive about going to this program. But one thing I want to assure you is you do learn a lot about yourself throughout this program. And I think that if you are contemplating about doing the capstone project, I would really encourage you to explore that option. It was something that I didn't think for myself I would ever do. I didn't think I was a research type. I didn't think that it was something that I wanted to tackle at the beginning of my master's program. But I would probably say it was, now looking back, it was probably the most beneficial and the most impactful out of all the courses, out of everything that we did. So for myself, I did I'm in Maple Ridge right now. So I'm currently the coordinator for EdTech at Meadow Ridge School. While I was doing my master's program, I was teaching IB, MYP, math and science, but I was in transition of accepting a new position. And so what I did for my capstone project is I created a website that took a look at exploring the options of doing outdoor education, specifically farming and agricultural work, and to integrate all of the mathematics behind budgeting, planning for a farm, and particularly planning for a farmer's market. So in my research, I'll put the link up, to my site. In my project, what I did was I did a mini lit review, looking at the different ways of how I can integrate technology, math, and also a farmer's market. And essentially presented different ideas or different projects that I could actually carry out with my students in the following year. So one of the benefits of the capstone projects is you can really make it your own. You can really make it applicable to what you're doing in your current school setting. You can make it applicable to the population that you are dealing with specifically. So if you are targeting, for example, elementary school, middle school, high school students, or different varying ages, you really can make it your own. So for me, I had the opportunity to do this over summer. I agree with Charlie Ray. It is pretty daunting in the very beginning when you are seeing this big project. But I feel like because you are working at your own pace, you can you really get to kind of hone into what are your strengths and what are the areas that you want to develop. So for me, I would probably say that I did not like writing. I hated writing big papers. So that was one thing I knew I didn't want to do, was this huge, massive paper, but I loved doing website designs. I loved doing the creative aspect of creating resources for teachers. So that's the reason why I chose to carry out my capstone project and to create something that was usable, that could give back to the community, something that I could apply directly to my own teaching environment the following year, and also one that I felt I could continue to build on even when I was done my capstone project. So if you get a chance, feel free to explore it, but I would encourage you to not close the door in the capstone project really early on, but really kind of explore how you can make it yours. And it's such a great way of integrating everything you learned in this program.
Great. Thank you, Christina. Maybe we can have Tamara and Diane to share a little bit about what the program is giving you so far. You're not finished yet. You'll be finished next year and end of summer or in December. So you have a little bit more to go, but you're more than halfway through almost. So maybe you could share a little bit about what you feel you're getting out of the program. Like, why would you recommend this to somebody? I should have asked you this question before you came in. Would you recommend the program to someone, and why?
You want to go first, Diane, or shall I?
Sure, I can go first. Excuse me. I would recommend this program, and I have recommended this program to others. As I think it was Christina said, I've learned a lot about myself in the last year going through this. I'm really enjoying the cohort aspect of the classes. Working together with the same people through all the courses, we have bonded quite well. I mean, Tamara, I'm just looking at you right now, but sharing papers with you and going back and having that peer editing has been really great for me for learning, but I also love learning about how other people are thinking about the topics that have come up, and it's really helped me to also understand my own perspective and my own thoughts, hearing other people's thoughts. So the collaboration and the cohort model has been something that has really made me want to recommend this program in particular. There's so much information, and even I'm thinking back to, our first courses last year in September, where I was then and where I am now. Like, I've grown so much as just a human, but also as a teacher and as a student. I also never thought that I would ever want to do research, but after taking the research methodologies course, now I'm like, okay, now I want to do a research project, which was never something that I thought would be, first of all, interesting, but also doable. And I have a lot more confidence in myself. I never really read a lot of research around education or math education, and having the opportunity to read through research studies has strengthened my classroom practice as well. I teach in middle school, so with grade 8 students, and using research-based approaches really has improved my practice as well. So I am thankful for what I've learned, and I'm glad you're all here, and I would definitely recommend applying.
Great, thanks, Diane. And Tamara?
Yes, I echo a lot of what Diane was saying. I'm also excited that you're all here, and I saw some people commenting that this is something that you've been really wanting to learn about, and you were really excited about it. And I would say that's one of the things that this program has given me. So I might have been thinking about teaching for social justice before, but I think learning with others and learning in this way has helped me really figure out how to do it. And that's evolved, much like how Diane was saying, where she was in September is different to where she is now. It's still evolving, but it just becomes like all of the pieces just start clicking together. Another thing I really like about this program is it really encourages you and supports you to step up and become a part of the intellectual and academic community and share your thinking and share your ideas, which is not something I've always felt confident and comfortable doing, but it really, I feel, scaffolds you into doing it, because a lot of the assignments ask you to step up and share of yourself and share of your knowledge, and be a thought leader as well as a listener and contributor. And then another thing I would say is also echoing what Diane was saying about research studies. I'm really understanding research on a much deeper level. One inspires one to want to actually do some, but it helps you think about the decisions you're making in your classroom in a very different way, in my experience.
Very nice, thank you. Very helpful. Do you know, Charlie Ray or Christina, about the TQS? I know that once you finish the degree, you can apply for TQS 6. But do you know, Vicky's asking about TQS 5+. Do either of you know about that?
Personally, from my experience, I had to wait until I had the certification, like the certificate, in order for me to apply for TQS. And so even though you have the credits, because you don't actually have the official paperwork, I know from my particular school, they wouldn't let me move up to that 5+ category. So I had to wait until I had received my actual, like the letter from UBC that says you have completed the master's program. And so that came right after the capstone completion.
Oh, good.
I was told that I wasn't from TQS, but from a few different people who work with BC Teachers Council, that I needed to wait until the end and not apply halfway through, and that was a previous practice, and it's not really the case anymore. There's specific programs that kind of have a partway point where you can do the 5+ and then maybe continue your master's after, but I was told that wasn't the case for anything that was just supposed to be just a master's program.
Yeah, okay, that's helpful.
Can I just add on to what they were saying? The first thing that I was like not big nodding on was I absolutely loved having a cohort, and I know a lot of people who have done a master's program. I'm fortunate that I live in a district where they will pay for it for us, so there's lots of people who do it, and anyone who has done programs that you just take the courses that are required that aren't a cohort has not had the same experience as me. I feel like the other programs where you just take the required courses, they don't get nearly as much out of it because they can't trust the people that they're with as much, and you can't have the same kind of conversations when you don't know those people. Like, even though the professor in the course might be designed just as great, having a cohort really adds a lot to it. We had a WhatsApp group, and everybody was always like messaging each other and asking questions, and there's just so much support if something was confusing or if something was great. And like, there's ups and downs in the program for sure. Like, there's things that sometimes are disappointing or frustrating or confusing, and it's just really nice to have that group of people there. And then it's also really nice to be able to learn from them, because the more you know about them and get to know them, the more you can learn from them. Like, Christina might seem like a tech person at the beginning, but by the end you really know she's a tech person. That's the person you want to ask your questions. So that's one of the things I would really recommend about this program in particular compared to other online ones, is many of the other online ones, they're not cohort based. So I just feel like that's really what made this stand out and what made this experience stand out for me compared to my colleagues that have done other programs.
That's a really good point. And I want to add that it's like, I think the cohort helps you build like your network, so to speak. So I know like who I go to ask for different things. Like Diane's my go-to for editing. She always makes my thinking, helps me clarify my thinking. And sometimes I might just WhatsApp somebody who I don't normally talk to and say, okay, help me brainstorm this thing. And I think because we are always doing classes together, it feels a little bit easier, even if you're not always talking or you haven't necessarily made that connection, to just reach out and make the connection.
Yeah, I'll add as well. Sorry, Cynthia.
No, go ahead, Diane.
I was just going to say, I missed it a lot in my elective that I took that was outside of the cohort. I missed that that camaraderie, that I didn't have somebody that I could just really quickly text or email or I knew would be there for me. And I missed that. And the elective was harder for me to do. Even though it was a 300 level class, it was an undergrad class. It was harder for me than the master's classes because that support wasn't there in the same way. So definitely it was noticeable when I was taking classes outside of the cohort, and I highly, highly preferred the inside of the cohort classes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
I have another thing.
Okay.
I totally agreed, like, and was nodding along with everything they had said. But one other thing I would add is, like, I felt like there were so many practical little changes and little lessons that I could use in my class right away from doing this program. Like, there's so many things that was just like, oh, we read a quick article or somebody else shared this, and it was just really easy to just start doing. And it was, like you said, it was nice to like really think about like how that fits into your practice in a really educational way and why it's important. But I think sometimes people are taking these things because they really want to grow their practice, and it's nice to do that at like so easily and so quickly from the beginning, and not just kind of have to wait to the end and do this project and you have one thing. It's like I have so many little things that I can just do every week, which I definitely didn't have before. So I felt like it was really practical. And like some people in their masters, again, I think, like, I hate to say this, but I think some people just do it for the pay upgrade. And I think even if that's what you went into this program for, you're getting so much more out of it. So I just thought it was really great. I just feel like I had a really excellent experience overall, and just knowing people who have had lesser experiences in other programs, like I would definitely recommend this if it's something you're interested in.
It sounds like you're missing it. No. No, yeah, I'm sure you're really glad that you're finished. And now you have all this extra time.
Oh, I found ways to fill my time.
Yeah. Okay, I'm noticing the time. There's 1 minute left. Does anybody in the audience have any other questions that you would like to ask that Calvin or myself or any of Christina, Tamara, Charlie Ray, and Diane could answer? I know there was a question around when's the recording available, and I think it will be available within a week or so on the pdce website. I think I answered that in the chat, but just to confirm that. No? Oh, we did a good job then of responding. So I hope, I just want to thank everyone for attending the session, and also for our guests, Christina, Tamara, Diane, and Charlie Ray, for offering their experiences, and Calvin for talking a bit about the application process. That's not an easy thing to talk through, and the details are certainly on the website. And if you have any questions about the cohort itself and its theme, and you're just wondering if this is the right one for you, please let us know, and we can provide some questions and ideas that might help make a decision. So for now, thank you very much, everybody, and we hope that we see your application in the filing system before March the 25th. Thank you. Good night.